Unit 5, Part 4 Notes. I can multiply binomials. So for this, we're building off of what we worked on in Part 3, where we started multiplying polynomials. We used the box. However, we just had maybe a 2 by 2 box. Sometimes we expanded it to that, a 1 by 2 box, and we expanded it to the 1 by 3. Now we're adding another layer vertically. We're adding that box underneath because we're adding another term into that first parenthesis. So now we just have extra things that we're multiplying by, which makes this box method really important to use the box when we're multiplying. You might not have needed it when we did the polynomials. You could have just used that distributive property, but I really highly encourage you to make sure you use the box method to ensure that you do all of the multiplication required to correctly multiply binomials. So we're going to start by setting up our box. So we'll take that first parenthesis, 8x plus 5, and put it on the side. And then we'll do our second parenthesis, 3x minus 4 on the top. Break up those terms at the addition or subtraction sign. Next, we're going to multiply all 4 boxes. So for this first box, we need to do 8x times 3x. So 8 times 3 is 24. And x times x is x squared. We got 2 x's, so raise it to the power of 2. 24 and x squared together make 24x squared. So that's for that first box. Then for our second box, we're going to do 8x times negative 4. So we have 8 times negative 4, which is negative 32. And then there's only that one x, so there's nothing for x to be multiplied by. There's no x with this 4 value, so this just becomes negative 32x. All right, now we're going to move to that bottom row, and we're going to multiply it using 5. So we're going to do 5 times 3x. So 5 times 3x, we do 5 times 3, and we get 15, and then that x just comes along for the ride. All right, and now we're going to do 5 times negative 4. We're going to do 5 times negative 4. Positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 4 is 20. And now we have to put all of these pieces together to make our final polynomial. So we have 24x squared minus 32x plus 15x minus 20. So I start with this first box, and then I go to this second box, third box, fourth box, exactly the way we did the multiplication. Now, if you notice, we do have one pair of like terms. You can see them right here in the middle, negative 32x and 15x. They both just have the x variable, the same variable, raised to the same power, which makes them like terms. You can also see them in your box in this diagonal here. So any like terms in the box are going to be found in diagonals that go like this. So in binomials, you'll always be looking in this diagonal to find any like terms that may need to be combined to fully simplify our answer. So now we just need to do negative 32 plus 15, and we get negative 17. So once we simplify that, that gives us our final simplified polynomial. All right, let's try another example. So again, we're going to start by setting up our boxes. We've got negative 3x plus 2. And then on the top, we'll do our other parenthesis, 4x minus 11. Now we will multiply. We'll do negative 3x times positive 4x. So we do negative 3 times 4, which is negative 12. X times x is x squared. So we get negative 12x squared. Then we'll do negative 3x times negative 11. Negative 3x times negative 11. We can do negative 3 times negative 11. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 11 is 33. And then we just keep the x with that value. Now we're going to do the same thing with that bottom row. We're going to do 2 times 4x. 2 times 4x. 2 times 4 is 8. And then we keep the x with that value. And then we're going to do 2 times negative 11. Positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 11 is 22. So now that we know where to look for those like terms, I can see that here and here, I have 33 and 8 that I can add together. So 33x plus 8x is equal to 41x. So now when I write my final answer, I'm going to put negative 12x squared from that first box. And then I'm going to put that 41x in the middle for those simplified like terms. And then I'm going to end with that minus 22. And this allows me to have my polynomial written in that standard form and all nicely simplified for my final answer. All right, let's do one more example and then you're done with the video portion of this. 5x plus 6 squared. So in this case, we don't have two parentheses, but we do have this little squared, which means multiplied by itself. So this is really 5x plus 6 times the exact same thing, 5x plus 6. So when we write our side and our top, it's going to be exactly the same. Now we just have to multiply, so we're going to do 5x times 5x. So we do 5 times 5, which is 25, and then x times x, which is x squared. So put that together, we get 25x squared. All right, now we're going to do 5x times 6. So we'll do 5x times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. And then we just keep the x with that value. Now we're going to do that bottom row. So we've got 6 times 5x. 6 times 5x. 6 times 5 is 30. We keep the x with the value. And then we're going to do 6 times 6. 6 times 6, which is 36. Now again, we want to make sure we look for those like terms. So in this diagonal, we can see we have 30x and 30x. So 30x plus 30x is 60x. So now I'm going to write my answer of 25x squared. Then I'll put that plus 60x and then plus 36. And that right there is my answer. So now you have your practice problems. You have 8 of them, and I have already given you the box there for your use, so please use that. I would recommend just maybe writing it on paper if you're one of the virtual students working on this. It just might make the process a little bit easier than trying to type everything in there. So make sure you do all 8 problems, and then once you have done all 8 of them, you can complete your check-in on Schoology. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out.